ready.
All right, 7 o'clock, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Bill?
Here.
Pelosiva? Pat?
Here.
Milczynski?
Here.
Readers?
Here.
Buckhauser? Spears?
Present.
Keeling?
Here.
And Mr. Devich.
Any amendments to tonight's agenda? I do have one, the approval of a settlement agreement, City Council 2013-54. I'd like to table that until August 13th. If that's the only change, all those in favor of the amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, before we get started, I do have a very important announcement. I was informed this afternoon that River Road Bridge is open. I didn't believe it.
Did you see it on your own two eyes?
They sent me pictures, and I still didn't believe it. So I'm going to City Hall tonight, I actually drove over it. It is open, so Brandon asked about a ribbon cutting. I said, no, let's just open it up and hope everyone forgets it was ever closed. So it is open. If Tony will report that in the newspaper, I would appreciate it. Thank you. We do have a couple presentations this evening. First, we're always happy to honor one of our officers when they do something out of the ordinary and above the call and duty. So I'd like to bring Officer Roman Solving forward and recognize him with a certificate of commendation. Chief, would you come forward? Let me read the certificate to you. This certificate of commendation, the Yorkville Police Department presents this certificate to Officer Roman Solving. That's it, right, Solving? For actions that went above and beyond the call of duty. On May 3rd, 2013, Officer Solving responded to a call of a possible suicidal male standing on the outside of the pedestrian bridge spanning the Fox River. Arriving on scene, Officer Solving quickly retrieved his rusty throw rope bag, positioned himself downstream, and as the male jumped into the river, threw the rusty throw rope bag into perfect position where the struggling man could grab it. He then pulled the 250-pound male, 250-plus pound male, onto the shore against a strong current. Made more dangerous by heavy rainfall that left the river with above normal water levels. So, Officer Solving, we appreciate your efforts and going above and beyond. The Community Service Officer Cleaver cannot be here this evening, so we will recognize him at a future. Next presentation we have is the most recent City Services Survey. And Jeff is going to present the results of that survey to us.
All right, so as you all know, this is the second year of our City Services Survey. We sent out the mailings to the utility bills in February, and we wound up getting about 479 responses back, which is smaller than last year, but still an 8.7% response rate, so pretty good overall, given the citizen survey standards. So basically going into it, we're just going to look at some of the overall trends that we saw throughout all of our city services. We're going to sort of get into some of the specific details in some of the different departments, and then we're going to look at some improvement suggestions and some final conclusions. So some of the overall trends of this year's survey is that there were fewer comments in general, but in addition, the proportion of comments related to high taxes has decreased significantly, and there were more comments requesting for services. So this is kind of a change in mindset with the residents that took this survey. We also did see a slight improvement in our satisfaction ratings on the whole. It wasn't a lot, but it was a slight improvement. So we want to keep our demographic information in mind as we go through this. Also at the very top, you'll see where it says page, and in this case it's 51 to 53. That corresponds to the PDF document that's on the website. So if you go to page 51 to 53, that's where you can see this information. But essentially, 55% of the respondents were age 50 plus. This represents about 20% of our census data, so it does skew the household numbers a little bit. It's something to keep in mind going through this, because someone that is of that age is going to have different tastes and preferences than someone that is, maybe 30 with 2 or 3 kids or something like that. 62% of our respondents were within their first 10 years of living in Yorkville, and 73% formerly lived in another Chicagoland suburb. So keeping those things in mind, people are going to be comparing our services to what they're used to from our neighbors and within the past few years as well. So getting into the general city services, on this chart, you'll see from top to bottom, the least highest rated to the highest rated all the way at the bottom. So our top 5 rated services were regarding police services, our quantity of parks, our trash and refuse collections, and and those all stayed the same from last year to this year. Those were the top 5 rated last year. They were the same this year. On the opposite end of the spectrum, our bottom 4 stayed the same, and those all related to roads, traffic flow, and then communication. But our 5th lowest rated changed from being communication with staff to quantity of recreation programs, which is natural to occur given the closing of the rec center. So this chart basically better defines how much things decreased by versus how much they increased by. So looking at decreases, we saw kind of a drop off when it comes to the quantity of recreation program as well as the quality. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, we saw an increase in our quantity of parks provided, which is probably due to just a better overall awareness of our parks that we have. But then there were also increases in our property maintenance services as well as some of our other services as well. So, and on the whole, we are doing better on our services according to this survey. Moving forward, we asked the residents to sort of what they think the council should emphasize in the following years. Looking at this, you can definitely see the top 2, which are maintenance of the streets, and then traffic flow and congestion management are by far the top 2 that residents feel we should be focusing on. Then there's a second tier, kind of involving quality of police services, property maintenance violations, and then just communication in general. Moving on to some of the more specific departments, looking at public works. Once again, we're kind of seeing the same trends we've already said a couple times with streets and roads. That sort of seems to be what is least highly rated. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, our snow removal actually improved fairly well. We saw a 10% increase in satisfaction levels regarding snow removal on neighborhood streets and an 8% on our major streets. This could be due to the relatively warm winter that we had, but we're hopeful that it means that we're doing better in our services in this regard. Moving on to what we feel, or what the residents feel the council should emphasize regarding public works. Sort of the same thing as before. Focus on the streets, focus on traffic, focus on the sidewalks, and then at the opposite end, we've seen improvements in our snow plowing and street signs and things like that. Police services, these did not change a whole lot from the year before to this year. As you can see, not a single one of these is, well, the very top one is over 2.5, but otherwise that means that the rest of them, residents are generally satisfied. So we're doing pretty well with our police services. What they think the police should emphasize, though, it would be efforts to stop major crime, which is the same as the year before, and then just visibility in their neighborhoods. We did see a little bit of a decrease in their satisfaction with visibility in the neighborhood, but we saw a sort of corresponding increase on the opposite end of the spectrum as well. Moving on to our communications, we asked residents how they find out information regarding City Hall and what they're doing. The majority of the respondents, of course, cited the Kendall County Record, but we saw some major increases in this category, specifically relating to the city newsletter, which we reinstated through the Parks Catalog, and the Yorkville Patch. Both of these went up by about 15%, which is a good thing because that means residents are most likely using multiple mediums to find out their information regarding City Hall and what they're doing. We also saw a nice increase in our city's social media outlets, such as Facebook and Twitter. Those both went up a significant amount to where, and we believe that it is due to our efforts to promote these outlets to residents, and they're starting to use them, and we're using them more frequently to sort of, put breaking news and things like that out there. So residents are using a number of different ways to find out what we're doing. This year, we also looked at our satisfaction level with special events. As you'll see, some of these don't have ratings for the previous year, and that's because they weren't asked. But overall, all of our special events fall below 2.5, which means that residents are satisfied with all of our different special events. There were about 24 comments basically stating that residents weren't aware of these special events, but they are now, so we can look into them. And then, in addition, we asked residents to provide us with some information on what type of special events they would like to see occur in Yorkville. Some of these were like the 4th of July event, or food and drink oriented events, some music type of events. So those are things that residents would like to see come, or they would like to see more of regarding special events. Then we asked residents what type of development they wanted. This stayed relatively the same compared to last year. There was a decrease in the responses to office development, but that sort of was evened out over the other three. After this slide, we're going to look at 2 word clouds regarding last year's and then this year's for comparison basis. But out of all the businesses that you see in the word cloud, that essentially the majority of the respondents wanted some form of restaurant, followed by specialty stores, and then after that it was a supermarket. So you're going to see a lot of names thrown out there on this big thing, and it's basically just the businesses that residents said, and the larger the size of it is, the more often it's stated. So last year, the major ones said were Trader Joe's, a restaurant, Walmart, Best Buy. And then this year's, once again, was Trader Joe's, restaurant, Portillo's, Walmart. So there really wasn't a whole lot of derivation. And kind of like I said before, a lot of these are for restaurants, followed by some specialty stores. One big difference from last year to this year, Best Buy isn't really noted at all. It actually fell from, I think, 31 people mentioned it last year to only 4 this year. And then Dairy Queen was not mentioned again this year, but that was obviously due to the fact that we have a Dairy Queen anymore. So some overall improvement suggestions. Residents did state that they wanted to lower taxes. This was down, though, about 40% comment-wise from last year to this year. Though, once again, there was a lot of comments saying that residents wanted the street system improved. And then this was followed, of course, by a request for economic development, to beautify the downtown riverfront, and for bike trails. And then there were 2 new sets of comments that we did not have any for last year, but we had a decent amount this year, and that was for more recreation programs of some form, and then also there were a few comments related to residents wanting to support a park this year. So some overall takeaways. There wasn't a whole lot of change in this survey from last year, but it was positive. Some things you might want to keep doing, you might want to keep thinking about the streets. I know our road program is a good start, but residents seem to still be stressing that that is something that they'd like to see improved. And you also have to remember your demographics. 2/3 of this year's survey respondents come from our neighbors, and they haven't been there that long, so they're definitely comparing this to what they're used to in the past. Sort of like last year, I wanted to end this on a positive note, and our responses for how residents feel about safety and if this is a good place to raise their children both came in as above satisfactory. So that's something else that's nice. People feel like this is a nice place to live. And our data source is there, and it's also on our city website on the homepage under 2013 Citizen Survey. So if the council has any questions, I'll field those now.
Any questions or survey?
Thank you, Jeff. Good job. Next, we do have 3 public hearings. So I'd like to tackle the first one. We'll go into public hearing for PC 2013-04. Priority Health and Body Makeover, Inc. petitioner has filed an application with the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, requesting an annexation agreement for an approximately 1.5 acres of total land located in unincorporated Kendall County. The real property consists of 2 parcels and is generally located immediately west of North Bridge Street, Illinois Route 47, just north of Walnut Street in Kendall County, Illinois. Do we have anyone here from the public who wishes to comment on this item? Anyone from the council have any comments? If not, we will close public hearing for PC 2013-04. Easy enough, Joe? Next, we're going to the public hearing for PC 2013-11. A fourth amendment to that certain amended annexation agreement and planned unit development agreement, Raintree Village, FKA the Highland subdivision, dated January 11, 2005, by and among Wyndham Deer Point Homes and Illinois Partnership, Concord Homes, and the United City of Yorkville for the purpose of amending provisions related to security instruments, procedure for acceptance of public improvements, and building code and fee lot extensions. Anyone from the public wish to comment on PC 2013-11? Any council members wish to comment on? If not, we will close public hearing for PC 2013-11. Next one we're going to open and we will continue it until August 13th. So feel free to comment now or we'll reopen it on August 13th. So we're going to public hearing for PC 2013-07, second amendment to that certain amended annexation agreement and planned unit development agreement, Grand Reserve subdivision, dated January 30th, 2012, by and among Grand Reserve Chicago, ASLI LLLP owner, the Illinois Limited Liability Partnership, Limited Liability Limited Partnership, limited in there twice, I don't know. And the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, for the purpose of restating the transition fees for School District 115 and providing for its collection at time of building permit issuance. Is there anyone from the public who wish to comment on PC 2013-07? Anyone from the council? Hearing none, we will close PC 2013. We will continue PC 2013-07 until August 13th. Next, we'll move on to citizen comments on agenda items. Is there any citizens in the audience that wish to comment on items before us tonight? Please step up to the podium, sign your name, and speak your mind. If it is not on the agenda, there's a section at the end of the meeting for more citizen comments. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on items on the agenda tonight? Hearing none, we will move on to consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Kraszewski.
Aye.
Spears.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Vogt.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting for July 9th, 2013 as presented.
Second.
Any comments, questions, corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving as presented, please state aye.
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 Okay, bill payments for this month, $786,766.28. Moving on to mayor's report. I'll entertain a motion to approve a supplemental resolution for maintenance of streets and highways by the municipality under the Illinois Highway Code and authorize mayor and city clerk to execute. Second. Questions or comments on the MFD resolution? Roll call, please.
Spears. Spears.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Kraszewski.
Aye.
Teeling. Vogt.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
And Alderman Teeling, would you like to take Public Works Committee?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve a professional service agreement with Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for design engineering of Cannonball Trail roadway improvements and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. Second.
Comments or questions on that? Yes, sir.
Just for a point of clarification, since this is mostly coming from MFT funds and other designated funds, it does not affect the overall annual budget for 2013, correct? or does it?
The engineering would be completed this year, and we had originally contemplated the budget amendment would be in front of you at tonight's meeting to authorize the expense of $35,000. In this fiscal year, it didn't make it, so that would be at a future meeting. And so it would impact fiscal year 14 by $35,000 in the citywide capital fund. And then in fiscal year 15, assuming it was constructed next year, it'd be about $100,000 of construction funds.
Is that it? So that's not an additional, that's just, what would have been in 16 is now in 15.
Correct.
So
You've
then you would
slid
alleviate
forward.
that 100,000 in 16.
Correct.
Yeah, they're just moving it up.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, clarifications? If not, roll call, please.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Liszewski.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Peters. Spears.
Aye.
There's no Economic Development Committee report, no Public Safety Committee report. Moving on to Administration Committee report. Alderman Spears, would you like me to read the motion for you?
Yes, please.
I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue source, of the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2 million, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions on this one?
I just want to clarify for anybody watching later, we are not taking out additional bonds, we are refinancing old bond at better terms. So it's not additional monies that are being borrowed by the city.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. I understand this now lines us up with the terms of the TIF. What significance is that? Is there,
The significance is that it saves us money in the short term at the expense of long-term dollars. So the existing bond expires in 2023 or 2024, and the TIF expires in 2027. So the bond payments right now are about $300,000 per year, and so what we're doing is we're reducing that for the near term to about $100,000. So we're saving ourselves money in the short term, but then that's made up obviously with additional interest on the back end in 24, 25, and 26 before the term expires. So there's a little bit of extra interest obviously because you're pushing stuff out farther into the future. You're incurring a little bit more interest, but it's being done to free up general fund funds now,
And we should have a significant TIF increment in the future.
obviously. Certainly.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that point. The point of the TIF was that the TIF would then generate the payments for the bond, which haven't been happening when it was an empty gravel lot. Hopefully by the end of this year, early next year, theater will be done, other lots are now, we have interest in the other lots, and it will be a self-generating payment versus what we've been doing now, which is dipping into our pocket every year and paying the TIF. The development of the TIF area will now self-generate the TIF money, pay the TIF, and that's the saving us the money. So I just want clarification of why it's being done.
And we'll take suggestions from Jeff Workcloud and from Countryside, like Portillo's and Trader Joe's and other things on the list, hopefully. Okay, anything else on the TIF bond refinancing?
Just, this is not the last action you'll take. I talked in there about 30-day backdoor referendum provision, and then the final ordinance isn't expected to be approved until September 10th. So there's still time to back out. Obviously, anytime between now and then, you incur legal fees to complete the agreement.
Okay, if nothing else, roll call, please.
Liszewski.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Coe.
Aye.
Pat.
Aye.
Peters. Spears.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Anything from Park Board? Anything from Plan Commission?
No.
ZBA? No City Council report? Any City Clerk's report? Any community and liaison reports? Any staff reports?
No reports?
Any additional business? We executive session, do we?
Not if nobody has any
Does
questions.
anyone have any questions on, the settlement agreement is postponed until next meeting. Does anyone have any questions on either of the employment agreements? If not, we can just blow off executive session. Okay, no need for executive
Is that
session.
an actual motion? Blow off executive session?
It's a legal term. I declare.
So under the continuing business report, I'll entertain a motion to approve a city administrator employment agreement with Bart Olson and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions on this employment agreement? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a comment here. I have no problem with this, but I'd like to see that we had a survey done for all the surrounding communities, and I'd like that to be brought forward and made public so people understand why we're doing what we're doing here. Because otherwise, it looks like we're increasing the salary with really no rationale behind it. So I'd like to make that part of the record.
Well, I think the executive session, we're going to pass out the employment agreement. Obviously, we're going to the press tonight. Maybe you can print out the salary survey that we did. And that could be part of what we pass out to the press also. And if you want to, are you going to put that as a supplement to this packet online?
Yeah.
So then you can put that employment survey, salary survey along with it.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that as well. I mean, I'm going to be voting yes on this, obviously. I think Bart's been doing a great job for the city. Anytime I have any questions or concerns, Bart has actually, he's excellent in his job. One of the concerns we have as a city is obviously retention. It costs money to train people. It costs money to, get them up to speed. It costs money to get people to an institutional level of institutional knowledge where they could be effective and efficient for the city. So I'm glad we have Bart. I hope this contract will take here the next 2 years that we have the contract set for, and I think it's competitive with all the surrounding communities. So I will be voting.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Spears,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Machuski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Raiders.
Aye.
Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve a chief of police employment contract with Richard T. Hart and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions on this?
I just don't want Rich to be left out. One of the things you saw and I'll hear about it later, one of the things you saw in the survey from the city is how satisfied everybody is with our police services. It's probably the highest rated department in the entire city. It was last year. It continues to be this year. It keeps going up. They're doing more with less. And that starts at the top. So I'm very happy with the job our chief is doing. And I'm very proud of our entire department. So keep up the good work.
Well said. What does T stand for? Comments?
Yes.
Is it? Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Spears,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Machuski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Raiders.
Aye.
Next, we have citizen comments for any issue that is on your mind. Are there any citizens in the audience that would like to bring something before the council? Please step forward, state your name for the record, and sign in, please. And we are all ears.
Hello, my name is Erica Rudis, and I live in Briarwood subdivision. I've lived here for approximately 7 years, and I'm from Plainfield, which is where my husband and I purchased our first starter home. 7 years ago, we decided to upgrade for our family and began our quest to purchase a new home. We searched in surrounding communities and found a home that we really thought was different in a small subdivision with much potential, which is in Briarwood, Yorkville. Prior to our purchase, we reviewed covenants in the area to make sure that we would be in an area where our home would hold its value and increase in value. Much to our dismay, the economy took a dive, and so did our homes, as well as everyone else's. We stood strong knowing that eventually the economy would come back, and as you can see, they are building. When I heard of the new building incentive program, I thought it would be a great idea. However, I did not know that you were not seeking out builders to fill areas that would meet certain criteria in areas that were zoned as an annexation for the covenants that we had in place. Calling the city and our alderman, it was brought to our attention that the city said that they did not enforce the covenants, that we would need to take that up with the builder. When I had spoke with Christy Noble a while back, she said that she thought that you guys should be enforcing the homes that were zoned as an annexation. And later, after that, a couple weeks later, after speaking with her, she said that you guys do not enforce HOAs, which is the homeowners association. That I did understand, because I understand, and she said because our HOA was never formed, so our covenants were void. After being referred to the builder, he stated that after 7 years, our covenants were null and void, and that now he owned the majority of our subdivision with 51%. Us residents knew that in our covenants, it states 2/3 majority had to be owned prior to having majority ownership, in which the builder did not have at that time and does not have now. Regardless, the builder continues to build, so we have filed suit, needless to say. It bothers me that the zoning department, when we asked, stated that that they weren't interested about the covenants, that they were just more interested in developing vacant lots. After my research, I decided to start calling surrounding communities and asking what their take was on enforcing covenants in the surrounding communities. I have learned that one of them disregarded the covenants when they are filed with the county, but I did understand that they did not enforce the HOA. Let's see. Filed in the county, which have been recorded unless they have been amended, at which time one in our case would have needed 2/3 majority to be amended. And I understand that these covenants were not amended as of yet, and if they were, then we would have been notified. I feel because of the hardship on the community was facing with building, the city decided to place that hardship on some of the residents who live here. I am deeply disappointed and feel as if we were caught off guard. We already did take a hit on the value of our homes, and now we have homes that are half our size in our community. And we are taking a hit on our homes with our value again. We will be paying much higher tax amounts while the other ones surround us that have lessened the value of our homes are paying less. I would like to read 2 sections from our covenants, then I would just like to know where the board stands on our covenants, and if they are void, I would just request that somebody can show us how they were void or where. In my covenants, it says, I have in Article 2, in Section 2.2, to further the general purpose herein expressed, the declarant, for itself, its successors, and assigns, hereby declares that the property at all times is and shall be held, transferred, sold, conveyed, and occupied subject to the covenants, conditions, restrictions, and easements set forth in this declaration. Declarant or its predecessors in interest has previously entered into a planned unit development agreement with the United City of Yorkville and Kendall County, Illinois on March 10, 2004 as document number, and I can give this to somebody if they need it, as amended by amendment to the planned unit development recorded in Kendall County, Illinois on May 28th, as document number such and such, the agreement. Further, the association shall be deemed contractually bound by the agreement provisions as they relate to the property described in this paragraph. And then in our general provisions, in Article 9, it states, the covenants and restrictions of this declaration shall run with the land and shall inure to the benefit and be enforceable by the board or the owner of any lot subject to this declaration, the respective legal representatives, heirs, successors, and assigns for a term of 20 years from this date this declaration is recorded in the Office or Record of Deeds of Kendall County, Illinois. After which time said covenants shall be automatically extended for successive periods of 10 years subject to amendment herein or above provided. So basically, our question today here is I'm representing most of the the people in our neighborhood here. We're just a little frustrated. We're not understanding simply where we are told that our covenants are void. We have a question to understand if you guys enforce, if Yorkville does enforce the covenants, that's all we want to know, or if you don't. We've had different answers. I have called the surrounding communities. They've never heard of covenants being void after 7 years. I've spoke with some attorneys. I've spoke with other cities. I have talked to other building enforcement code municipalities, and like I said, the surrounding communities. So we just have that question about the covenants, and then we also want to know you know, we do have feel that there are some concerns in our neighborhood, and we are concerned to know if the builder, which is building the homes in our area, and the building inspector, who is inspecting the buildings in our neighborhood, is also working part-time for the builder. We are not sure, but we are asking that, if that might be a conflict of interest, or if there is any concern there. And that's all I have to say for now.
Yeah, Ms. Rivers, I mean, probably most qualified to answer questions. I know we have time. I mean,
Okay.
if you want some questions answered, probably Mr. Work would be happy to.
For Briarwood? For Briarwood.
Correct.
Okay, the attorney's here for Briarwood. For the city, I can answer. You read it yourself when you said it runs with the land, successors and the signs of the original builder of the land. The city is none of them. We do not own property out there. We do not have any rights. We're not in privity of contract with anyone. That's the legality of it, so that we have to look to the homeowners association to enforce its own covenants. Why someone would, I don't know, Christie ever told you, they're not null and void, to the best of my knowledge, because it is my understanding they're 20 years and you read that yourself. So that could have been a bit of misunderstanding or in the discussion. But again, we are not landowners as a city, and you read the provisions yourself, which keep us, limit our ability to get involved.
Which is fine, and that's the only question I was asking,
Yes.
is I wanted to understand that we're not barking up the wrong tree, that it's, you know, set that the city is not in enforcement of these covenants, that we have to go elsewhere to take care of that, and that was the only thing that we were
We're
looking for.
not
an answer.
owners, we're not participants, and they don't run, they give us no rights.
Okay.
Actually, I want to further state too, because I think there were two differing opinions between Christie and Kathy on whether the covenants were null and void. We also don't officially render that opinion. That's their own unofficial interpretation. Okay.
Right.
Whether we made the comment or not, we're not the judge
So
on
where
that
she got,
particular.
maybe had the information transferred to her, and I understand that.
Fair enough, okay.
Right.
May I make a few brief comments?
Yeah, please state your name for the record and so on.
Vince Rosanova. Rosanova and Whitaker, our office is at 23 West Jefferson Avenue in Yorkville. Here tonight on behalf of JAC Kendall Holdings, who's the successor developer of Briarwood subdivision. The former speaker, I believe that she's correct that the covenants are in effect for a period of 20 years. I also agree with city legal that covenants are enforceable by the municipality. The important thing to note in the Briarwood covenants is they reserve the right of the developer to amend the covenants upon two-thirds vote of the lot owners. The successor developer, JAC Kendall Holdings, has an assignment of declarant and developer rights, which has been recorded in Kendall County, and they also have two-thirds vote to amend the covenants, which has also been recorded in Kendall County, in which staff has been provided copies of those documents. Therefore, based upon that, we're going to continue to speak with the residents out there, provide them with documentation, and ultimately we hope that this issue will be resolved. As you know, this development was approved in 2004. Since then, it became defunct. We partially completed infrastructure. Roadways had no surface course. This developer has worked with staff extensively to finish those public improvements, finish the surface course, get rid of weeds, get rid of the stockpile, and it's coming a long way to bring this development full occupancy and fruition. Part of the reason it's sat vacant dormant for so long is because of the covenants and some of the minimum standards that were in there, and that's why when this developer looked at the property, it was essential to be able to amend the covenants. So that's what I have for you this evening, and if there's any questions that we have to answer.
You said that you guys have, you state that you have two-thirds of the vote to amend, and amended covenants were recorded and copies were provided. I haven't seen those yet. When were those recorded?
They were recorded earlier this week.
Okay. All right. If I can get a copy.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and sign in.
I didn't.
Scott Harmon, I'm in the Retreat subdivision. with the amendment coming up for MSP Alto, I'm kind of concerned that we could run into the same situation in our subdivision, where the new developer, whoever that may be, may actually do the same type of downgrading of the project based on what it originally was designed to be. I didn't read through the entire amendment, but does that amendment protect us from this kind of thing?
The amendment does not address covenants in the homeowners association, because just as in the case of Briarwood, the city would have absolutely no rights. The only thing I do know is that Unit 1 is, what percentage is developed in Units 1 to 23?
I think there are 30 lots out of a few hundred.
So that
90% built
the
out.
situation is a better number of build-out. So I don't know what your covenants state, but you have to look at the homes built and the number of lots being taken over by the developer in terms of percentages in your particular
We have
covenant.
approximately 300 lots that are not in possession of us. Is it must be helpful to legal counsel? President Smith? Okay. May I speak with you after? Sure. Well, that's basically all I'm going to do is raise that concern. If he can't do anything for us, so we'll amend it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Grundle. Any other citizen comment? If you want to speak from there, you can if someone wants to bring in the microphone.
Speak from here if you'd like. Do you want to speak from here? I'm going to bring you the microphone. Oh, there you go.
Honorable members of this esteemed city council, I hope you will forgive my slowness, or it used to be this way. However, I do want you to know that we're very concerned. We have 7 homeowners in our community. And we all purchased our homes at a time when we thought that we would have a brand new development that was certainly similar to what we were buying, semi-across the board. Now, after sitting for so many years, as it is, with only nothing but job rates and bicycle riders to entertain us, we now find that we have somebody coming in to build out the lots that are available. However, we do find that it's just full of all kinds of falsehoods. Everything about it. We've found that now the latest one is that the new builder took credit for completely redoing the streets and sidewalks and the curbs, etc. That's a complete lie. It was done, the original builder had a bond with the bank, and when he went bankrupt, that bond stayed there. And with the help of one of your really great people, one that handles the DMVs, she got the bank to release that bond, and that bond is what repaid the streets, fixed the curbing, and so forth and so on. Now, when these kind of things happen, you know, it kind of smells a little bit. You just kind of wonder, because when you find out that he's not anywhere near staying up to the standards that we hope to have when we bought our homes. Now, not only does it smell at that point, but now all of a sudden, one morning, very early, we had truck after truck, huge 16-wheel trucks
47 reconstruction. We really never had a chance. We never were allowed to give our opinions of having this yet. I called the mayor's office, and the mayor's office said they just couldn't do anything about it at that point, but they referred me to the director of Public Works. I called the Public Works director, and he said, oh, we just have to bring it up to grade. That's all it is. Well, from just snowing, it now begins to reek. If you can imagine that, because they had a hearing out in the Fox Farm area to take all that dirt and rubbish and debris out there and dump it, and the people objected to it. So now they decided they needed to bring our community up to grade. Except for one thing. This new builder built 4 houses before they ever put in 1 teaspoonful of dirt in there. So all of a sudden now it has to be brought up to grade. So your great director of Public Works, he says it has to be brought up to grade. I think if somebody had asked me that at the spur of the moment, I could have come up with something better than that. In any event, we have had tons and tons and tons of dirt and debris from the 42nd reconstruction. Brought in, gone over our streets, gone over our curbings, gone over our sidewalks, and dumped these in huge piles. You can still see them in big piles of rubbish, big piles of broken concrete, broken tree stumps, almost everything you can imagine. Every one of our houses that are there, that are occupied with children. And even one of them is occupied with senior citizens, which I can very well attest to. And we're very concerned about the health of bringing this debris, incinerated there, and spreading it all over the place, because actually that stuff may have been around for centuries. It's actually centuries. It's dirt from part of that old church that's there, and I'm not aware of how long that church has been there, but I'm sure that that dirt has been there long. And we're concerned with the health. I've called the Board of Health. The Board of Health, that's not our jurisdiction. Okay, whose jurisdiction is it? It's the IDOT. They have to do it. Okay, so I called IDOT. IDOT said, that's not us, it's the state EPA. Now I called the state EPA, and they said that's federal. They have to test it, and they have tested it. I said, have you? Then how about showing us the report? Well, you can if you do the proper paperwork, you can get that report. Well, in any event, today we have not got the report. But we are concerned about the health of our children and anyone living there. So now we're faced with tons and tons of debris, tons and tons of dirt, and we've got a builder who is a second or maybe a third-rate builder. We can understand our esteemed city council would like to have new building. We can understand that. The city can use some additional tax money. There's no question about it. But are you willing to sacrifice one community for that? Because we are surrounded on 3 sides by 3 beautiful PUDs. 3 beautiful sunshine, and the name of the other one I think is Greenbrier. And so forth, and the senior citizen. through those communities. Those communities are just as clean and just as beautiful as you can want. And there's not a foreclosure sign or anything about them. They're neatly kept, and they, as far as we're concerned, they are concerned also about having a second or third-rate community in their midst. We abut up to those communities, and we're now faced with that, and we're faced with these other people that are concerned about it too. They're concerned about our property values. I'm sure that my property value is the same value that it was when I bought it. And I'm sure that other people are saying things. However, all I can say at this time, that with the money that was saved in taking these tons and tons and tons of dirt from out to Fox Farm, they just brought it around the corner and dumped it. Now, it doesn't smell anymore. It just reeks. And I can only say this to you, ladies and gentlemen, allowing this to happen may come back to haunt you. And certainly it will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Do you please state your name again, for the record?
Beg your pardon? Is there a question?
Your name?
Ralph Axelrod.
Thank you, Mr. Axelrod. Is there any other citizen comment this evening? Well, it's sincerely my hope that JC Kendall Holdings communicates with these residents a little bit better, and let's see what we can work out. There's no other citizen comments. Meeting adjourned.